Welcome to the squad with Ice Water and Puma. Listen, do us a solid. Like, comment, subscribe, and share our episodes on our YouTube channel, Chocolate 108.1 WYDL. We're going to start out with the NBA playoffs, man. And I had a buddy cracking up because I got to watch some Cubs baseball this weekend. And we went to Smoke Daddy's in Wrigleyville, and we were watching the games. They got all these TVs. That might be my spot in Chicago. The food is good, the atmosphere is good, everything. And I kept calling James Harden, Mongo Slade, and then I started calling Kawhi Leonard seldom seen because I expect him to get hurt sometime in the series and not play or just disappear because somewhere along the line, Mongo Slade is going to show up and then Seldom Seen is going to show up, and they just don't have that one-two punch. I think that's going to carry them past this particular series or far in the playoffs. But that's just one game. What are some of the things you were seeing there?
Yeah, well, in that particular game, I got to think about it too, where it's back and forth. We know how James Harden has been no matter where he's been. It just happens now that he's with the Clippers, right? So it just happens that way where he does not always show up. But we know one thing about Denver, actually a couple of things. We know that the Joker is going to step up and give you his game fully through. Murray played real well in that game, and they were going back and forth. And even Westbrook kind of stepped up. I think he had like 15 points in that game.
Yeah, he surprised me. He stepped up in that game, and he didn't make like bonehead decisions in late in the game that would cost him the game.
Right. And even like Gordon had 25. So they had like five legitimate guys that were in double figures, right? I think four of them were in double figures as the starters, and Westbrook had like 15. So the Clippers, we know what James Harden does. He dropped what 32, and Kawhi had like 21. But then the problem is after that, there's a lack of consistency in that lineup.
Yeah.
And the way that Denver, they do not stop. So as you said, it's been hard for the Clippers to finish some of those games, and Denver will outlast you. They find ways. Nothing else down the stretch. Just go to the Joker, and Joker will make it happen. So for them, they actually went into overtime, and then Denver was able to slide by. So I think it might be that way the rest of the series, unless the Clippers, Harden, and those guys step up and show, hey, we're here, we're ready to really battle. And then you also too think about they picked up Simmons, Ben
Yeah.
Simmons, and he's not really doing much over there. They say he's doing okay, but I mean that's not the answer. So I don't know. I'm not surprised by the fact as you mentioned that Denver was able to outlast the Clippers the way that they did.
Okay, let's break down each game in the West and in the East. Let's go to the Thunder and the Grizzlies. When I was watching the play-in with the Grizzlies, I'm like, they have no business in the playoffs at this particular point because they're really kind of, for me, Jekyll and Hyde, dysfunctional. And I felt like, okay, they're going to win the AC, but what are they going to do with the Thunder? And we saw in the first game, the Thunder just smacked them down. I mean, just letting them know like you are nowhere close to where you guys think you are. And I feel sorry for the interim coach who took over. I just feel sorry for him because this is going to be a beatdown. I wouldn't even say a gentleman's sweep in this series. This is going to be a beatdown every game.
Yeah, no, I can see that point. As you said, Memphis just got by. When you think about John Morant, it's not 100%. I mean, he's been jumping around lately and trying to show that he's ready. Had a pretty good game. But when you look at the overall lineups, comparing Memphis to the Thunder are loaded.
Yeah.
You know, Happenstein at center, Chet Holmgren, the power forward. And this was a game that SGA, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, didn't really play well. It wasn't the dominant 35-point performance that he normally does. So you have Dort, you have Williams. They have a number of players, right, that are able to do a lot of different things. So I think they just kind of showed you in this particular game that from a talent and on paper, they're just more. They have more talent and more people. And if John Morant, if he has 60, it doesn't matter. You just can't win games against that much talent. And they're showing you right now, okay, John, you might have a good game, you might score a lot of points, but collectively you cannot compete with this team. And I think that's what they showed you they were who they were and by being able to win that game and having such a blowout, 131-80.
Yeah, let's go back to the rest of the teams. You had the Lakers and the Timberwolves, and I was saying to another buddy of mine over the weekend that Edwards needs to take the crown away from LeBron in this particular series to show him, LeBron, I'm speaking of, that okay, you are no longer the king in the NBA. I am. And when you go for the king, you go for him. And this is what I think Edwards needs to score 30, 40 points every game this series and let everybody, get what they need to get in this series. But he needs to take the center stage right here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And we kind of knew the Lakers were going to kind of look like this with not being able to play defense, not being able to handle the playoff pressure. What do you think about that series?
No, I can see what you're saying. I think for me though, in regards to Edwards, I don't think I need to see him score 40 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the leadership that he showed in game one versus the Lakers is one where, yeah, I'm going to get my points. I might have 25, but I'm going to do a lot of things. And he's handling the ball a lot more than most, right?
Yeah, I
Kind of
noticed
running
that.
the point, facilitating a little bit, but also encouraging his other guys. Like, for instance, was it McDaniels had 20, was it 25? And encourage other guys to get involved because that's how they're going to win. Because if you wait on, if you're looking for only one guy, a la Edwards, to drop 35, 40 every night, what if he have an off night? But they had a number of people from Minnesota that were contributing, even in the middle. The big guys were playing real well. DiVincenzo.
Yeah, and Connolly, those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Conley comes down pulling three. Collectively,
Yeah,
they were just running through them guys. They're running through the Lakers. And with that being said, Luka has 37. So what?
yeah,
37, but no D?
yeah. Can't guard anybody on the court.
Right. I mean, you saw how Edwards was all in the face with the three and everything. I mean, and I think the attitude where and I agree with about the leadership from Edwards, but I think the attitude for him is like, look, I just need to keep coaching these dudes up, telling them we can get it done, which is encouraging them. Not saying I need to be the guy. There's a way to become the king and take over the spot, take over that throne from LeBron without being quote unquote so dominant like you're a Jordan type figure. If you can get your other guys to play, look, man, we rolling. We talked about this because you hear a lot of them saying, you remember we said we can beat them if we had this attitude. We talked about this and they move forward. And collectively, if they had that same attitude, they can beat them.
Yeah.
But I mean, because you're going to get your shot. LA's not going to go away like just that. Everybody's not going to have a bad game. Luka has 37. My only question is, get off this real quick, is LeBron going to defer to Luka? Are we just going to watch LeBron just go, yo, go ahead and do whatever and keep deferring to Luka where Luka has 35 points a game playing no defense? And LeBron doesn't like to lose. So I'm wondering to myself, is it going to reverse now where now Luka said, yeah, we kind of in trouble. I need you to take over because you have to have other guys step up. You got to have Reeves step up, right? You got to have Connect step up. Guys like that have to step up because Minnesota is on full tilt. They're going to need their bench. Hachimura's going to need to step up. You're going to need they need to give Connect some more time. So a lot of guys are going to have to step up if they're going to match the energy and the effort of Minnesota, or they simply could lose to Minnesota.
Let's go to the last game we're going to cover on the Western Conference before we go to the East, and it's the Warriors and the Rockets. And you said you wanted to see this, and now you're seeing it. And Jimmy's doing his thing. I mean, the Rockets are. It just seemed like they were in over their head. And they were making a battle last night to come back, but it just seemed like there's too much Steph Curry, there's too much Jimmy. The thing that concerned me, I'll let you speak on it, is that the Draymond factor, where is he going to do something bonehead to cost them a game? And I always think about that. You don't want to think about that because he's done it before. You're like, okay, here's he going to do again, and he's going against Brooks also. So something has to give with those two. And I'm kind of anticipating, waiting for the shoe to drop when one of those two or both of them get ejected, or one of them gets ejected, and it just changes the trajectory of the series.
No, I agree with you 100%. Start with Draymond Green. He and the big center for Houston were going back and forth, and the big center posterized him, and they were like in each other's face and pushing and everything like that too. But the one thing I will say that people I don't think give Steve Kerr enough credit. Sometimes he sees things in a certain kind of way, and he knows his players. So immediately when Draymond seemed like he was on edge and arguing with the officials and banging with the Shagun, the big fella for Houston, right?
Mm-hmm.
He literally called timeout, and they go, "Oh well, it's a timeout because he wants to review something where that was a foul." No, he called timeout to walk out there to Draymond Green and pull him and say, "Look, man, yeah, I know. Don't mess this up. Get your butt on the bench." And of course, he's gonna his theatrics and everything, but he literally goes, "Don't blow this." And I can see what somebody said was previous behavior shows he may do this, but I think Draymond Green he's an intelligent dude. He just get emotional like some other people, but he realizes with Jimmy Butler's on this squad, they own to something. They play a certain kind of way that fires there. And the one thing Draymond Green does not want to do, he does not want to be the reason why he cost this team a shot at possibly going a long way.
Yeah.
One, because he respects Steph Curry too much, right? He respects that, and he's starting to love Jimmy Butler. So, and I think that the contributions from some other guys for Golden State is really working too. Again, Gary Payton, oh my goodness. He is so electric, and they do not quit. And then you got the other young guy that kind of that plays at the other guard. They don't quit. They don't everything you want more from Kaminga, some other guys, but they play hard. They work hard. They're not the biggest team, but they got some dogs.
Yeah.
And I think the problem with Houston right now is the factor that Houston is inexperienced. And they're in a place, and they hit a lot of shots in the last game. They had a lot of good shots. They were hustling and banging, but they're inexperienced where they need certain guys to step up, and they did not. Jalen Green had a horrible game.
Yeah.
VanVleet was supposed to step up. He didn't play well. It comes back to chemistry and collectively playing well. During the regular season, amazing. They said they even shut down Steph Curry a little bit. He still dropped 31 and they won the game. I think it's a new experience for them, and stuff is on the line. When that happens, a lot of guys who had done well in the regular season, like we say about pressure, bust pipes.
Yeah.
People get tight.
Definitely. All right. One more thing about the West Coast before we go to the East Coast or the Eastern Conference is I agree with Jimmy Butler. Healed, do not dribble. Just shoot threes. That's your specialty. Don't try to put the ball on the court. Just shoot threes. Get in position to shoot threes. That's how you're going to help this team and play great defense. Let's go to Cleveland and Miami. I had the same feeling about Miami I had about Memphis. That okay, you're the number 8 seed, but you don't really deserve to be here. And Cleveland, Mitchell is playing like he's so relaxed and he's locked in that I think that's going to carry them in this series. Just watching him yesterday, and then the big guys flying around, it just seemed like Cleveland is just saying, you know what, this is our time. We need to take it, and we need to get rid of this team as quickly as possible.
No, I can see that. I do think that we said this in each one of the series we talked about so far. It comes down to matchups. I think Cleveland is loaded. You look at the big fellas. We said this for a few years now with Mobley, right, and Allen over there. Then you bring in you have Mitchell and you have the guards and guys coming out the bench. Even Hunter, coming out the bench. They got some play the other day from a guy that just came out the bench, and Hunter scored like 2 points. So they have the talent and the roster to move forward and dominate teams like Miami. But I think the X factor truly is Coach Kenny Atkinson. Mm-hmm. Came in with a fire. He's really kind of no nonsense kind of guy. He's a tough guy. He demands and respect. He commands respect on the court, and he wants them to give their all. And I think that fire he's lit under these guys with some emotion and some passion is carrying them a long way. My only question that I have is about Cleveland, and we may not find it out to the conference finals or they get to the finals. Where is is Mitchell going to be able to rise to the occasion when it counts on a big stage? Because in the past, he's a damn good player, but is he a leader? Is he a leader? Because we remember back in the day when he played for Utah, and him and Damian Lillard used to go at it in Portland. They always kind of way to fall short. I mean, amazing games. But my question is, if he doesn't do it, where is that leadership going to come from Cleveland?
Right. The Pacers and the Bucks. It seems like the Pacers' strategy is to let Antetokounmpo do what he wants to do, shut down everybody else. It worked in game one. And you could tell that this series reminds me of some of the old series back in the days when we watched. These two teams don't like each other. And that makes great playoff basketball as far as I'm concerned. But Dillard has to step up. Somebody has to step up other than Antetokounmpo, because if they don't, I think that this Indiana Pacers strategy will work and they can get out of this series being the number 4 seed.
Yeah, well, let's make this plain and clear. Milwaukee Bucks need Damian Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not, when he wasn't healthy, when able to go in game one, you could see how it was and what was going on. So the Pacers with their coach, Rich Carlisle, old school. You remember Carlisle when he was in Dallas, old school basketball. Siakam's playing real well. There's a lot of talent on Indiana, right? A lot of talent. And while the Greek Freak may drop 40, like you said, nobody else steps up. I mean, I was trying to say, what's our guy that they ended up letting go or traded? He went to the Nets.
I know you're talking about the small forward they'd let go.
Forever, they're forever, yeah. So yeah, but guys like that, they're missing because when Giannis wasn't able to really step up, this guy steps up, you automatic, or another guy steps up. Right now, without Damian Lillard, it's just hard because
is it Middleton?
Huh?
Middleton, right?
Yeah, Middleton. Yes, thank you. Middleton. Yes, Middleton. He was just a staple, man. People that I know we're gonna share our age now, but when you think about Milwaukee, I think about them old Milwaukee Bucks teams like in the 80s, right? Where there weren't a lot of superstars. You had superstars considered guys like Marcus Johnson was the guy, Sidney Moncrief. But you had the Junior Bridgmans of the world, right? Paul Pressey, right? Just dudes, just solid dudes. Sigma, Bob Lanier, just solid dudes. So they weren't going to be all-stars maybe, but they played their roles well. And I think that's what's missing from Milwaukee right now. And what the hell, Doc Rivers? I mean, you get yourself in these positions all the time.
I try not to mention Doc Rivers.
I'm just saying, you have to.
Yeah.
Because they need motivation.
Yeah.
You do.
I try to stay off the Doc Rivers thing.
But you have to. You got to look at Doc because this team has won a championship before. What's the other? The other guy didn't show up at all, and they're like, "You chose him. We got some else." Is it Kyle Kuzma?
I mean, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
21 minutes and nothing.
Yeah, and I mean, you're not trying to pick on them, talking about they're not good players, but you got to look at the lack of performance because it's the playoffs. It is the playoffs, and you have to say we need a performance. That's why you see a guy like Middleton. He's like, I'm gonna pick up the slack. You wouldn't go get Kyle Kuzma when you could have brought somebody else in, and you're just not there. And the Greek Freak is like, damn, what happened? So they are doing everything they can to get Lillard back because, man, they're struggling to find help in other places.
Yeah, let's go to the Knicks in Detroit. And I said before the show, the Knicks really surprised me because usually as a Knicks fan, I've been watching the Knicks in the playoffs and games a long time. Usually they keep the opponents in the game some kind of way, and the games are closer than they need to be. But what I saw in the first game of this first round is that the Knicks putting their foot on the neck of the opponent and stomping it down and kicking the life out of the team. And of course, Detroit's not that experienced. They do have some experienced players there, but I was looking for more of a fight. And I guess the Knicks got tired of people saying that, hey, they can't beat teams with winning records. And this was their battle cry to say, yes, we can.
No, I agree with that 100%. As you said before, I think the inexperience of Detroit coming in after they had been losing for so many years, been like the doormat, and now all of a sudden they're in a place with a roster filled with talent where they can compete at least to make the postseason. And Cunningham is playing real well for them. He's definitely showing leadership. But I think the Knicks have more veterans.
Yeah.
And we know how Coach Tibbs does, what he does with those guys. Brunson's back, he's healthy, means a lot. Big Cat is doing this thing. And if you like experience playing against veterans like that, you're going to have trouble, right? And they play hard, they grind, and you know how the Knicks are.
Yeah.
You get up and down, they'll outwork you. And I'm just not sure if Detroit, unfortunately, is built like that. So they, in a way, I tell you this: when I watched the game, it almost seemed like Detroit, the way that they're organized and put together right now, they're very similar to the Knicks. It's almost like you're watching some teams play the same style.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the Knicks are better at that style.
Playing the Knicks,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying because you got Thompson, the young small forward. I mean, they're amazing. Duran, I love Detroit. I was telling you that earlier. I love their talent, but when you play against older guys, it's like the Bulls for years tried to beat the Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find a way to kind of turn over. It's the way that Boston back in the day beat some of these younger teams. You sometimes it does take time for you to go through something or a couple series to go, yeah, we're going to change this up. But that's the process of learning.
Yeah, and they got Robinson back, the big man,
Yeah.
the Knicks, and so they don't always have to rely on Cat to do something, especially playing defense. Last team in the Eastern Conference or last game we're going to cover is the Boston Celtics against Orlando. Do you think this will be a gentleman's sweep at this particular point? Tatum is a little bit banged up. They're trying to figure out whether or not, I guess, if he's going to be 100%. What do you think about this series?
I really like Orlando. I like their talent. They have young talent. Orlando does. You got like Black, the good Black. There's so much going on down there. But they had a lot of contributors in different places. The problem with them is even when you have Wagner and guys like that too, Boston is Boston. And you mentioned earlier about Tatum being somewhat banged up and injured. It could be a gentleman's sweep, right? But other people are stepping up. In that first game, the game was a 103-86.
Mm-hmm.
White stepped up. White had 30. So they have enough pieces and talent where, okay, now you're doing this, you're doing that. You might see Pritchard step up and do some things, right? Jaylen Brown doing some things. Porzingis. They have a number of talented individuals coming off that championship run that if Tatum is not able to go full throttle, they have enough talent. Somebody else going to step up. And they have been winning and they've been running. And it's just sad that Orlando's young and they don't have the personnel right now to match. And hell, it's defending champions. No shame in that game.
Right.
But when you don't have it, you don't have it.
Let's go to the Major League Baseball report, man. I'm going to kick it over to you, but I have to mention this. I was at Wrigley Field for the last couple of days on Saturday and Sunday. I got to watch them up close and personal. I'm really impressed with the Cubs. I have to say. I'm really impressed with them. They got some great hitting. It didn't work out for them yesterday. They lost in the extra innings, but I was able to watch a couple of pitchers that I was very, very impressed with. Ben Brown was throwing the heat on Saturday, and I don't know why they took him out, but they won the game anyway. And there's another reliever that I'm trying to get, Daniel Paliense from Venezuela. I think he threw a number of pitches, and only two of them was under 100. I mean, you could hear the pop in, in the catcher's glove. But they got a solid hitting team. They got great defense. And they pretty much, their manager is very, very, very smart and savvy. And going to Wrigley, is a treat. And I was able to take some friends with me and some folks who hadn't been there in a while. And I got myself in trouble eating a lot of food I ain't supposed to be eating and drinking a lot of beer I ain't supposed to be drinking. So that may be on another show somewhere else, but your baseball report, man. Yeah, I'm showing this my beer bat. Uh,
Dying.
yeah, yeah, almost like a stein full of beer. Beware of the beer bat if you go to Wrigley. Beware of the beer bat.
Let's look at the AL East. As normal and as usual, earlier in the season, the Yankees are in first place. Are you surprised? I'm not. No one's surprised by that. Yankees lead.
Supposed to be in first place.
Yeah, like Yankees lead that division in the AL East. They're up on second place. Toronto, Boston's coming up in third place in that division. Moving over to the Central and the AL Central, Detroit is in first place. They're up a half a game up on Cleveland. So very early, but the Tigers looking good. Woohoo! Moving over to the West, in the American League, Texas is in first place. You know, Texas made that run a couple years ago. Everybody's excited about that. They lead the second place team, Seattle, by one game. And the LA Angels are playing well early, playing real well early in the season. They trail by 1.5 games. Moving over to the National League, moving over to the East Division. Guess who's in first place? New York Mets. So New York Mets in first place. The Yankees are in first place. What the hell is going on in New York? Philadelphia is in second place, two behind. We'll be watching very closely to see what the Mets can do as we move forward. And as stated earlier, in the Central, Chicago Cubs are in first place of that division. They're up one on Milwaukee. So watching very closely. But lo and behold, but I told you guys before, this is the division, the Central Division in the National League, the division that's usually as close to 500 as possible for the year. And you never know what the hell is going to happen, who's going to win. So you can stay around a 500 mark or a little bit above, you got a shot even after the All-Star break. And that's what we're talking about, the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds are two back in third place at 500. Remember what I just told you. They have a 500 record. I think it's 11-11 right now, and they're two back. So anything goes in this division. And finally, as we move forward to the National League West, you think I'm going to say LA Dodgers, don't you? Wrong answer. San Diego is leading that division right now.
Yeah.
But let's get real. Magic Johnson gave me a call. They're only behind the Dodgers only behind by half a game. So don't get too excited. Although I must say, though, the third place team is playing well. Good to see that the off season acquisitions by the San Francisco team is going really paying off. Yeah. They're only two back. It would be really nice to see the Dodgers have to struggle, not so much struggle, but compete to win that division. Because in the past, when we get past the All-Star break, it's usually all nothing but the Dodgers. They start to run away and make you look real bad. But I like to see some more competition. Hopefully, that's what we get out of that division.
I would like to let you know too that I wore all my Yankees gear all weekend, and I didn't get in any fights. There's some good people there at Wrigley, man, and they love baseball. And it's an event, but folks love baseball. A few people came up to me, hey, I'm a Yankee fan too. And so it's a great, if you ever get a chance to go to Wrigley Field, even if you don't go see the game, they have a monitor outside. They got all the different restaurants, hotels, and bars there that play the game. And I believe that the White Sox are very jealous of what the Cubs have up there in Wrigleyville. Wrigleyville is like a city within a city. And that's the way it's supposed to be when you're in a baseball town. Let's go to other topics, man. Your boy, Nico Amavivila, is transferring to UCLA. So my thing is, I think he's going to catch a lot of grief in the Big Ten, him demanding a certain amount of money. And, you know, players play for pride. And if you're going to make that much money, you better damn well prove that you're worth that particular, you know, price tag that you put on yourself to come to UCLA. Your thoughts on this story, man?
Yeah, that's a mess, man. I mean, as far as the quarterback, Nico leaving Tennessee, and I feel for him in a way, but then again, I don't because this is the game that we're playing from the standpoint of he was at Tennessee, and I guess he was getting like $2.5 million,
And wanted
and
4 million.
then yes, and then he asked Tennessee for 4 million and a car or something like that, and I guess he had his representative shopping around to different schools, and apparently one of the schools that got shopped around to was Oregon.
Yeah.
And allegedly, their head coach reached out to Tennessee head coach and said, "Hey, you know your guys over here trying to conjure up some things," and he got back, and Tennessee made a decision like, we're not playing this game with you. So Nico is in a certain kind of place, right, where he's just kind of free falling. But what we find out too is that some of the other schools he tried to go to, like he wanted to go to North Carolina, they mentioned as well potential. They said we don't have that kind of money.
No.
And now it's almost like, to me, it's almost like he goes to UCLA by default.
Yeah, and Bill Belichick's not going to pay you that much money to play for.
No, he's not. He's not going to do that, particularly when you're improving.
Yeah.
Because what has the Tennessee quarterback really done? So he ends up in UCLA, and they have a few guys there. You still got to fight for the job.
Right.
But the point of it is, you still only get like 2 point something million. I think he got less than what he had at Tennessee. And then when you look at the state taxes and all the other stuff, it's madness. So, but be careful what you wish for or ask for, and you just have to really know your worth. And I think in that scenario, because if I'm him, I want to know why he needed to leave Tennessee. Were there some outlying things going on, something he didn't like about it, or did he just price himself out? Because you go back to Tennessee, which is pretty much for the last couple of years been an established program, and they have some guys coming in. Why wouldn't you want to stay?
Yeah, I'm like, does he owe people money or something? Because that was kind of I mean, you're trying to double your price. Like you in trouble, son? You need something or what? Because it came out of the blue. A guy that to me wasn't even on the college radar as a quarterback. I've seen him play, but yeah, but I was following other guys. But it's like, what's going on?
No, I'm with you on that, and that's why when I look at it, I'm like, what happened? What were you thinking? And I mean, I got a chance to watch him play against Ohio State in the
Yeah,
playoff
yeah.
game, and he's young, and you can tell he's mobile, which excites a lot of people. But he's limited and he's challenged. He's green in a lot of places.
4 million? No, no.
Yeah. So how you think maybe he saw somebody else get 4 million, thought he was just as good, but I think that's where sometimes your reps, whoever's working for you, do you a disservice. Because some people got to be honest with you. Like, you got a nice setup down there. You got like 3 years left. Coach likes you. Coach Fulmer likes you. So let's build on this instead of just jumping out there. And now you're in UCLA, and they've had their struggles when new coaches and a
Not
lot.
guaranteed to get into the playoffs with UCLA being in that
Yeah,
Big Ten.
especially with the last couple of years with that program.
Yeah,
They got a new coach now. I think they got another coach.
yeah,
Now you got to go back out there and try to figure it out. And I don't know.
yeah. Travis Hunter threatens that if he can't play both sides of the ball, he's not going to play football, man. And I think this, to me, I'll be honest, and I'll comment on this first. Is like you don't put your cards on the table like that publicly. You survey and you make your decision, but you don't come out publicly and do that because now you're kind of forcing teams' hands, and you may force yourself out of a situation that would have been beneficial for you.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna disagree with you just a little bit on my observation. Is that I think he's showing that he really wants to play, man. Dude is talented as hell. He's a generational talent, in my opinion. He can play both sides. And I think he's just saying that. And maybe you might be right. He might be, some teams may be, they may be turned off by his attitude. Maybe they think it's cockiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there might be somebody else that goes, you know what? And I'm going to tell you this. I don't know what they're going to do because I have no idea. I don't have any insight on this. But somebody like the Cleveland Browns, they know they need this. They need this dude. They need it for the excitement. They need it because he can play. He can do what he says he's going to do. And they are going to be open to him. They're trying to figure out now what they can do. And you know how that usually works in that scenario. He
Right.
come in, oh, I want to play both sides. I got to do this. I got to do that until we get to training camp. And then we get into the game and we say, hey, man, by the scheme goes, we want you to play wide receiver. You can do this and that. But we also want to need you on this scheme depending on what the game's like, right?
Right.
So I think that's worked through. Right now, it's just prediction and people are just talking and he's just telling you what he wants to do. I don't think that makes him a bad guy.
Right.
But I'm not gonna let the fact that he says I'm not gonna play if I can't play both ways. I'm still drafting him, and we'll figure that stuff out as we move on. I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
You can say what you want to. I got the talent. We'll work it out. And I think to go back and forth and argue the point of well he better better be quiet and be cool. Nah, why? You in charge. You like the Cleveland Browns, who I hope they do take him at two. Why are you arguing with something about someone in a position that we're not even there yet? Why? It's like saying I ain't gonna do this and that. Okay, no, you don't have that control. You do, but you don't. But everything before now, it's like saying who's going to win the national championship in football next year right now. It don't matter. It's the debate. So why are you arguing? Just take him. He's a hell of a talent and let it work itself out. I think he's not so blinded by this that he's not going to be adjustable to whatever. He's not going to be able to adjust to wherever the team needs. So I mean, maybe he plays a percentage of it. It's whatever it is. So I think to me, it's all about a little bit about nothing. He said it, yeah, but with the media, today's media runs with every freaking thing and want to make it an issue. I don't give a damn. I'm Cleveland. Well, yeah, okay, we heard you. That's cool. You're gonna start out. I wouldn't even have a discussion till we have him locked down, signed, and go. We'll see which training camp what makes sense.
All right. Let's go to Cooper Flag. He announced that he's entering in the NBA draft and he's expected to be the number one pick. I have a lot of thoughts about this. Should he be? That was one of my questions. And are there other players who can really slide in that position? I can think of two off the top of my head, Braum and Walter Clayton Jr., who can step into that position. But my thing is, I don't think I'm looking at the teams that's going to draft or have an opportunity to draft a Flag. You got Toronto, you got San Antonio, you got the Rockets, you have Portland, you have Memphis, you have the Bulls, you have Sacramento. And I'm like, with him added to any of those teams, and you got other teams out there too that aren't going to win next year if they get this guy. Would it be worth him just staying in college, getting that NIL money at Duke, maybe winning a national championship, strengthening that team, and then coming out the following year? Because I can't see where he's going to, you're going to put him in. I kind of think of, remember McDermott from Creighton? They have these players who are, highly touted. Then they get to the NBA and just disappear. And so I kind of think that for me, in my heart of hearts, he's a Duke player. There have been some great Duke players, but there haven't been a lot of them who kind of step in, just take over. And I kind of see him doing that, kind of disappearing because you're playing against higher competition. The competition is going to be fierce, and your playing time may not be as much as you played at Duke. So why is it this rush if you're going to be making money anyway? See where you're going to be picked. If you don't like it, come back to the college ranks, play another year. But I could see Walter Clayton Jr. going. I could see Braun from Auburn going, and maybe kind of helping a team out a little bit more. Maybe it's me. I just don't see it with Flag. I've seen flashes, but he played against competition that wasn't top level. And when he got to top level competition, he showed that sometimes he couldn't handle the pressure at the end of games. That's what I saw. Your thoughts on this, man?
No, I can see that. But I was a lot more skeptical about Cooper Flag as well. And then I started to watch him as we got closer to the NCAA tournament. And then I watched him in the tournament. He's amazing. He is. He can play. He can play. He can do a lot of different things. I heard you mention some of those teams. I think one team that you didn't mention, and I think that may have a good shot at him, is Utah.
Yeah.
He would be perfect for Utah. Utah, he would be a franchise player because of what they need. And I think he has enough versatility where he can play with almost anybody. And if I'm whoever drafts him, whoever he goes to, if I'm them, I'm saying, first of all, we're going to let him get his feet wet. You don't need to come here and be LeBron, okay?
Right.
Granted, you are a division, you're the All-American, Player of the Year, all that stuff. Now, we still got it. We had a team before you, we're going to have a team afterwards. Now, if you're able to come in here and help us, great. But I think we always want to we talked about this about these NFL quarterbacks too. You want to put so much pressure on this young dude coming in. But as far as leaving and coming back, number one pick, why not, man? He's going to be the guy. So, granted, you can come back to Duke and get the NIL money, but you go to the final. You went to the Final Four. You were this close to coming to winning and going to the finals. Is another year gonna really help that dude? That's all I'm saying. The money's there. You're gonna get paid. He pretty much is in the worst case scenario. I can't even see, even depending on the team, they're gonna let him go, not be the number one pick. So maybe 1, 2, 3 at the latest. And I don't think there's anybody else, 2 other dudes in front of him. Maybe 1 if you want to go that route, depending on what you like. But I think it's hard for him to go, not so much saying I'm turning down to go back to school, but what else does he need to accomplish in college? You would like to say, yeah, you won the national championship, but hell, you almost won. You showed you're capable. The money's there. Everything's set up for you. If you're ready physically and you're ready mentally, take the jump, bro. Go on and get your money, because you mess around, get hurt, something, because you waited another year.
Yeah, because I think of Christian Laettner when he came out of Duke, and he spent 4 years there, and Christian Laettner disappeared in the NBA. He disappeared. He's supposed to be this great player out of Duke, one of the greatest players ever out of Duke. Yeah. I can't say that for Grant Hill. Grant Hill was if he didn't get hurt, Grant Hill, we'd be still kind of just tooting his horn. But I kind of look at him the same way I look at Christian Laettner. Christian Laettner, I mean, people were talking about him throughout his college career. He got better, he got better, he got better. His game just did not transfer to the pro game. And I'm thinking Cooper Flagg, he's not going to be able to do all that stuff he does in college in the pro game. So it has to be a team that's not looking for him to kind of come in and be the franchise player. If he goes to Washington or the Pelicans or the, you said Utah, maybe a good spot. Charlotte, can he be patient enough to say, hey, I need to grow with this team and then eventually I can be better? Or will he get frustrated or lost in the sauce? Because I'm thinking, yeah, I've heard this before with Duke players, and he's not Kyrie, he's not Grant Hill, he's not Tatum. He wasn't as good as those 3. So what makes me think that he's going to go in and just tear the NBA apart?
Yeah, and I agree with that. I don't know if I'm saying I would say that he's gonna tear the NBA apart. I do think he has a better skill set than Christian Laettner, though. I watched his handle. I seen his handle. I seen that. I seen the other thing that he has more than Christian Laettner, and I'm not gonna even go this route, because I'm not gonna compare him to this dude who I loved in college, and he was the guy.
Not gonna say Larry Bird, are you?
Yeah. And I said, I'm not going to say he's as good as Bird. Okay, I'm not saying that. But the one thing I did see from him, and this I'm telling you the difference between the college career of Laettner and Flagg, right? And I'm just going to use Bird as an example. Flagg has the ability to see the court, and he's a playmaker. He can pass the ball. Christian Laettner, you never saw that. He was either the drive, the spin, the catch, right? It was whatever, or catching the pass. It was never a playmaker mentality. Cooper Flagg does have that. And when I do compare him to Larry Bird in college had that. A lot of people didn't see that. They thought he scored all these points. But you remember the behind the head back pass and all this. Bird was that type of guy. So I'm not saying Cooper Flagg is on the level of Bird at all. But he at least has the tendencies as far as a playmaker. And he sees the court and he takes the advantage of certain things. So if I'm a team that's drafting him, I don't make it where he has to take over. I just need you to learn, come in our system. Like you say, Charlotte. If I'm Charlotte and I get him, hell yeah. Charlotte is, okay, I'm not saying Charlotte gonna win the title, but you think about it. The ball kid is a baller. He can play. Now you got Miller, the guy got in trouble at Alabama. He can go. And you put a Cooper Flag in there with a couple other pieces, and the big fella that the Lakers tried to get, Williams, when that trade went crazy. So you can build some things, but the key is to not overburden Cooper Flag with trying to be the savior.
Okay.
You bring him in, let him work. He can play. I think he's good enough to play. I think he's good enough. I think because I think his skill set is more diverse than Christian Laettner's, and I think that's going to help him. He got a jumper, a little jumper. He can go to the hole. He can do a lot of different things. Maybe work on his defense. But I think, go ahead, collectively,
Let me ask you this.
oh yeah.
Was he better than Connect last year? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about.
In a way, I'm gonna say yes, and I'm gonna tell you why. The skill set. I like guards. I like guys that can got a little handle, can see the ball. So you're not most dudes, and I'm gonna say this because it just had nothing to do with that. But I'm gonna say this: a lot of guys that are player of the years or they receive all these accolades, they're what we call ball dominant. Okay, they're scorers. They're scorers. They gotta have the ball in their hand. They have to be able to get my 25, my 27. Connect was ball dominant. When you think about that, right? He was a scorer. You never really saw him kind of, getting the mix. This dude is like, I don't have no problem dropping the ball over to the big dude. Now, if you keep telling him he got to score points, it's like bringing him in, telling him he got to be the savior and taking over scoring. He's going to struggle because the NBA is just different. But I think the fact that he has a more diverse skill set where he can see the court, do some things, even to the point when he goes to the hole in lanes. He says, okay, you there, there's two people around me. I'm going to spin off. I'm going to go in. I'm going to dunk the ball two hands. That's a mentality, a playmaker mentality. And he's not all about, I got to get my 29. And I think that's why, to me, and I could be totally wrong, because I'm like a scout right now. I'm only going off what I think potential could be. But
Right.
I think his skill set's a little bit more diverse, and that's what's going to make him more attractive to other teams.
Okay. Do you have a quick hitter this week?
Stay right there with the NIL. And by watching what happened with the quarterback from Tennessee, I'm just amazed by everywhere you turn, every top-notch guy or a guy that may think he's worthwhile, particularly in college football, has a representative or an agent. And it's like, well, his agent's been negotiating on his behalf. And I'm like, well, the agent talked to this. I'm like, man, this is a whole new world. This is a whole new world where now it's nothing to say. Oh yeah, did you talk to my agent? What they looking for? I'm like, wow, this thing went from open up a little bit to boom. I mean, my goodness, wow. Off the chain, man. So, I mean, and I'm happy with the players, but I'm like, that ain't the old NCAA we know.
No, no. I keep saying every week, it's like it's going to turn into something that we're not even going to recognize college sports in a few years. We'll be the old crotchety guys saying, "I remember when players played and they didn't have to have money," but now it's crazy. Last second shot, man.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I just saw this recently too. I just brought this up because I love NBA basketball, but I just want to talk about the mindset. So I was looking at this and I want to bring up the legend, the big old Oscar Robinson. And Oscar Robinson, of course, played University of Cincinnati and ended up playing for the Cincinnati Royals as far as professional basketball. And I just literally read something recently. And for some reason or another, the Royals decided, I guess Oscar Robinson was having some issues with the management.
Mm-hmm.
And they just somewhere out of nowhere just decided to trade him. They tried to talk to the LA Lakers, and the Lakers had at that time, I think Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West tried to talk to them, and they're like, "Oh, no way in hell, we're not doing that." So they talked to them. They talked to some other. I think they even talked to the Knicks, probably in their heyday with Willis Reed and those guys. Talked to them, the Knicks about it, and they were not going to part with their top-notch guys anyway. So the way it goes down is what we find out is I think the general manager or somebody in the front office of Cincinnati Royals was Bob Cousy.
Mm.
So knowing that the demeanor and attitudes and whatnot, and two greats looking at each other like, whatever, I can see how that could spoil over into roll over into something crazy. But it was Bob Cousy who actually was responsible for the trade for Oscar Robinson. And to this day, people are going, why? And they're like, why? Why did this happen? Nobody really knows. It just didn't make sense. So they ended up trading Oscar Robinson to Milwaukee. And he ends up connecting with a young man by the name of the young Lou Alcindor. And ironically, what happens during that season, they set records in winning straight games and whatnot. They keep moving up the ladder, and before you know it, they win the title. Yeah. So you had to ask yourself, what the hell was Bob Cousy in Cincinnati thinking? Where this guy goes off and ends up with Lou Alcindor, and they do what they had to do to win the title. It just makes you go, it had that old thing where Arsenio Hall make you go,
Things that make you go, I want to talk about a little bit of the NFL. You have the highest paid quarterbacks. You got Prescott at number 1, Love at number 2, Lawrence at tied for number 2 with Love and Burrow and Allen, all tied at number 2. You have Tua at number 6. You have Goff at number 7. You have Herbert at number 9. You have Lamar Jackson. And at number 10, you had Jalen Hurts. At one particular time, Jalen Hurts was the highest paid quarterback in the league. And out of all those, Jalen Hurts is the only one that has a Super Bowl ring. Been to it twice and has a Super Bowl ring. So these teams are paying all this money for these quarterbacks. And some of them can't even get out the first round. Some of them can't even get into the playoffs. So you need to be smarter about who you're choosing as your franchise quarterback and who you're surrounding them with. And you need some of that money to surround them with good talent, Saquon Barkley, to get to the promised land. That's our show. We'll see you next week.